How you doing, guys? Hang on. How do we turn this on again? Is it that one? Nope. That one? Yes, there we go. So, Boomtown and Blagging, that's what we're going to talk about. Boomtown because that's the festival that I program and run the music for. Blagging because, partly because the festival industry is built on blagging. Partly because I kind of feel that I'm constantly blagging. I don't know if anyone else gets that feeling, but I don't have a plan most of the time. I have a slight plan now, so I kind of feel like I'm just going to blag this whole hour. But yeah, mostly about Boomtown, and we're just going to blag it along the way. Has anyone ever been to Boomtown? Sweet. Okay. For those who haven't, in fact, for those who have as well, one thing that we're going to go through is even people that have been to Boomtown, a lot of the time can't really say what it is. I work in it all year round and I find it quite difficult. So we're going to try and dip into that a little bit. But let's have a little video. Dum, dum, dum. All the more clearer, right? It's a festival. That much is clear. People call it a music festival. I don't mind that because it makes my job sound much more important. But ultimately, music is just one part of the festival. It's an immersive experience if you want to be a bit wanky about it. There's a lot of theatrical elements. There's a big set in which we kind of build a city. And I think probably the best way to describe it is to kind of pick it apart bit by bit. But it's an independent festival. It still is. We're going into the 11th chapter. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. It's still run by the same two people that started it years ago. I'm not one of them. I don't have that stress, thankfully. But I program the music, and I'm kind of in charge of just overseeing it. So we've got over 1,000 acts this year, and that's across 20, it kind of changes daily because we can't decide which is a main stage and which isn't, but 27 main stages, we kind of say, and then there's about 100 smaller kind of theatrical venues which are run by separate crews. So I oversee the main stages, and I program 12 of those, and then, you know, we've got a great team who kind of do the rest. That's the lineup for this year. It's really difficult to read. That's not all 1,000 of the acts. That's just kind of the first release that we put out. We might go through that. Nah. I'll tell you what we'll do. So my job is, it's an all year round thing. Literally, the week after the festival, I'm back in the office working on the next year. Kind of 9 to 5. It's head of music for a festival sounds more glamorous than it is. Most of the time, I'm in the office 9 to 5 looking at spreadsheets. But I do still love it, even after all this time. So that's our biggest stage. That's the Lion's Den. which it changes constantly. One thing about Boomtown is it constantly evolves, which is another thing about blagging it. Because it's always changing, we're just kind of making it up as we go along. And literally it will change day by day. But the Lions Den started in a tent. It was the Reggae and Jungle stage at the very first Boomtown. Now it's grown into a 30,000 capacity arena. I don't even know how big the stage is actually, top of my head. But again, this is the first year that we had that particular stage. It's been a process to kind of get to something that big. We still keep a big reggae jungle vibe to it. We have, so this year on the reggae side, we've got Chronic, Supercat, Marshall Griffiths, and lots of other acts. But it's also, because it's a bigger stage, we've grown from 1,000 capacity festival the first year into a 60,000 capacity festival now, which has been for about 3 years. They won't let us get any bigger, but maybe one day. And so that's where we put our headliners. We tried for many years not to be a headliner-focused festival. Unfortunately, in the festival market, it's really hard. My dream would be to not even release a lineup, just let people come and find out for themselves. There's a festival called Fusion in Germany that do that, and it's great. You just kind of wander around and just discover stuff. But you can't do that over here. Shambhala did it for a few years, but now they have to release their lineup as well. But so headliners this year, we've got Lauryn Hill, The Streets, and Chronics is one of the headliners on the Friday. Last year was Gorillaz, which is a pretty tricky one to beat, to be honest with you. But that's one of the tricky parts about the job. Is every year we go, shit, how are we going to beat that one? And sometimes you just got to go, well, let's take it back to the roots a little bit. So yeah, Lions Den. Anything about that? I'll tell you what, I'm just going to talk, and then we'll do questions at the end, so save them up. That's the town centre stage. For years, that was the main stage, or what people considered. We've never really liked to use the term main stage, apart from, to us, they all are. But that was considered the main stage by everyone else for years. I actually started working for Boomtown as the host for the town centre in the second year. But I'll tell you more about that later. So this year there is Slaves and Prophets of Rage. Does everyone know who Prophets of Rage are? I'm always curious. And someone, Gogo Bordello, who they played a few times. They sent a really lovely message last time saying, we've played festivals all around the world and we've never enjoyed one as much as your festival, which for me, loving that band for a long time is great to hear. So that is the town centre. Oh, also actually, generally what happens in the town centre is we spend way too much money on a handful of the bands and then think, shit, how are we going to fill the rest of it? So luckily there are still some really good festival bands who are not quite as expensive. It's what happens actually a lot of the time, and it's really unfair, but it's just the kind of the way it is we'll spend ridiculous money on an act who will pull at the festival probably, a few thousand. Like a big reggae headliner, a lot of the time will only pull in a few thousand, less than that sometimes. And then a band like Gentleman's Dub Club, who play pretty much every festival, will pull in like 20,000 people. Last year, the biggest crowd we had was Shy FX. And like, that's crazy. I won't tell you how much it is, but it's a lot less than our other headliners. So there you go, town centre. Paradise Heights. So, as I say, the festival kind of evolves every year. This year, everything's changed. So if I forget what something's called, it's not my fault, I promise you. It was probably something different last week. So this used to be an area called Mayfair, which was kind of exaggerated, posh area. A little bit twisted. It was kind of a comment on materialism and excess and lots of things like that. And what's happened is it's grown into what would happen if Mayfair then became Las Vegas, I guess, is one way of describing it. There's lots of theatrical, but this is where the theatrical venues start really coming into their own. There's like a fake casino, and you go into like a side door, and I don't get a chance to do that enough, but you go into a side door, and then you'll have like a mini adventure. Someone will start talking at you and trying to get you to rob a bank or something like that. And you'll come out thinking, I have no idea what just happened. But there's a lot of that in this area. Musically, when it was Mayfair, there was a lot of electro swing and things like that. We've still got an element of that, but things have kind of moved on a bit. And it's, you know, we're a little bit bored of it, if I'm honest. So now, I hate to use the word tropical, but that's kind of what people use as a catch word for a lot of the music there. Yeah, let's not use that actually. Soca, a lot of African fusion, Latin fusion. So this year, it's a complete mixture. I can't remember. Sorry, brain's gone blank. Let's move on. Old Town is another theatrical area. It's run by an old, quite anarchistic circus called Invisible Circus. Does anyone know them at all and what they do? Really kind of important in the UK sort of festival circuit. Very kind of not your typical circus, you know? Very, very much from the kind of like anarchistic squatting side of the circus. But they run a really good district. It's called Old Town. It's one of the ones that still has its name. I'm not even going to go into the story of what was happening here. You maybe make it up for yourself. But there's a lot of this kind of stuff going on, and it's great. The whole of Boomtown is... a story started as a backdrop to it, and now it kind of leads the festival. We come up with the story, and then that kind of leads what's going to happen at the festival. So I haven't got time to tell you the whole story, but there's been revolutions, there's been corporate takeovers, and now basically what's happened at the end of the last one is we're trying to start a whole new story, trying to kind of underwrite everything that's happened in the past and start a new story. But the one thing that's crossed over is Amy is kind of like Siri, if Siri was maybe a future Siri. We don't really know what Amy is yet. We don't know if she's malicious or not, but she's now kind of running the festival. And at the end of the last festival, one good thing that she pointed out was that the festivals aren't really sustainable with the model that they're in. So what we're really focusing on this year is how to make it more sustainable environmentally. It's a big issue. I mean, the amount of tents that get left and just the amount of waste, etc., is ridiculous for a festival, especially for ours. So we're really, really trying hard to find ways to bring that down. But we've put that into the story now. So that's part of it. So that's Amy. Is everyone keeping up? Is that right? Yeah, cool, thank you. Copper County, it started as the Wild West, as a whole story. So I ended up at one point as sheriff. I'll go into that in a bit. But yeah, we had the Wild West, which was great because I said, oh, if we're having a Wild West, can I program a stage full of Americana bands and like bluegrass and country, and they went, yeah, right, and that was really fun. Now that it's grown into Copper County, which is kind of based around, I guess, Industrial Revolution sort of time, that's really hard to program musically, so we just don't think about that one. There's a lot of folk bands there, a lot of world music, a lot of kind of more singer-songwriters kind of stuff. But there's also a couple of rave venues, wrong side of the tracks. It's quite disheartening sometimes. You'll put a really strong folk lineup, and then, but you'll put, because we release each of the districts with their own poster, so we'll put a really nice folk stage, and then a little venue called Wrong Side of the Tracks, with a couple of like drum and bass and bassline DJs, and all of a sudden no one cares about the big stage. So that's a tricky one, but it's also nice. It's nice to change it around. So you'll get, part of the joy of my job is when you see someone who definitely just came to rave, standing in front of the folk stage, loving it. That's definitely a good part of my job. Oh, actually, let's talk about, so again, going back to the fact that a lot of the smaller artists will bring in bigger crowds. The biggest crowd that we used to have in the main stage there was Beans on Toast. And it's crazy. Literally, he started off in the bandstand, really small stage for us. And now we've had to move him from the main stage in Copper County to the town centre stage, because he brings in that, and I just let him play every year. And he always brings in a big crowd, and he's great. He's really good every year. This year he's written us a song as well to kind of go with the story. I think it's called Take Your Shit Home. Oh yeah, that's Wrong Side of the Tracks. It's a little rave venue. Actually, what's important about that is, so the smaller venues, as I said, are run by different crews who come from all over the country. And it's a really important part of Boomtown that it's a collective of different people rather than just from one hub. This is Whistler's Green, which kind of harks back to a lot of the more greener festivals, more hippier festivals, I guess. So there's a lot of workshops. It's definitely where you go if you want to get a massage. I wouldn't go anywhere else in Boomtown for that. There is, and it'd be quite easy. So the main stage there it's changed this year. It's called the Lighthouse now. I don't know why. I haven't seen the plans for it, but the last stage was called the Windmill, and it wasn't a windmill. So we're still, as I say, we're still just making it up as we go along. But what happened was it would be really easy to put a kind of more hippie-esque lineup there, but I really wanted a jazz stage, and that's the only one they give me. So up there is where you'll find artists like Nabaya Garcia, Joe Armand-Jones. In the past, it's been Portico Quartet. Oh God, I can't remember. Everybody. Most of the UK jazz scene, especially from the new guys who've played up there. And it's great. It's great to be able to do that. Like, basically what happens is I say, I really want this kind of music, and then they give me a stage. And I just get to pick my dream lineup. Perfect. There we go. Whistler's Green. Oh, this is also where you will find Kids Town. We've got a real image problem a lot of the time with Boomtown. Is people don't realize it is a family festival. But there is a really good kids area. It's got a forest school. You've got loads of different workshops and games. There's a stage, which is really fun to program, actually. Things like Junior Jungle, which is just a jungle rave for kids. It's super fun. What else? Where's that? Disorder Alley. So one of the things that has been with Boomtown since the start is a big old school punk contingent. And so this is their part of town, really. And when you go down there, a lot of the time, that's where you'll find the punks hanging out. Last year, we added in metal as well, which we've not done before. That's more the director. What happens also is that I don't get to choose all of the music. Sometimes the directors say, we want this kind of music. When it comes to metal, I didn't have a clue. I honestly didn't have a clue. So what happens is I have to immerse myself in metal then for the next few months and try and learn as much as possible. Because even though I don't program that stage, I have to know what they are programming and whether it's any good. Which I really enjoyed, actually. It's quite good getting into different kinds of music and really immersing yourself in it. Another one, hardcore techno. Gabba was something that I had to stop people playing in my house. And it's amazing what going to Bangface will do for you. And you're like, okay, I get it now. I can get into this. The same thing had to happen with Psytrance as well. So it's a process. But yeah, this is where you'll find the hardcore techno, the heavier side of drum and bass, breakcore, things like that. It's intense, but really, really fun if you're in the right mood. And if you're kind of flagging, it's where it will keep you awake. Barrio Loco. So that's where we have a company called Another Circus, Baseline Circus, who've been around for a long time. Used to be big on the rave scene back in the day. It was like a circus company built for a rave, basically. But now they've grown into a really good circus who, yeah, they're in charge of this area. They're in charge of populating it. They put on shows and they have lots of performers there. It's also where we have our main, mostly hip-hop stage. We've started to put a few other different kinds of music there. High Focus, does anyone know High Focus Records? There's a few acts that if we don't book, people give us a lot of grief for. And High Focus is one. Ed Solo, I haven't booked this year, and I can feel people are going to kick off about it. But these are crazy. These are just mates that we've known for years. But people will absolutely refuse to come sometimes if they don't get Ed Solo. Which is good in a lot of ways. This is Metropolis. We had a backlash last year when we launched Metropolis, because people didn't realize that we've been actually doing house in Boomtown for years. And all of a sudden, when we kind of gave it a bit of a bigger stage, everyone's like, what, house in Boomtown? It's absolutely travesty. It's like, that has actually been happening for quite a few years, boys. It's just been a tent over there. These guys, Little Gay Brother, they run one of the street venues there. Again, old school mates of mine who have been pushing to get a venue in there for ages, and it's only right. They're absolutely wicked. Where else are we? We've got 2 new dance stages, which I don't have photos for. So there's Carl Cox, because he's playing one of them. Again, a bit of a backlash. For me, having grown up with Carl Cox since the early 90s, I don't, like, it's pretty standard that we should put him on a techno lineup. But a lot of people associate him with different things. They associate him with Ibiza, and they might have a negative connotations of that. But I'm still back in the 90s, and I'm listening to his hardcore tapes. But he's going to play a slamming techno set. There's a big techno lineup. Again, we've been doing techno for years, but people didn't really notice that one either. But what we've done actually with that area, so it's called Area 404, and we've tried to make it make sense, really. So we've had acid techno for years. Like, people have forgotten about acid techno. It was a big free party kind of music. And that's a lot of our backgrounds before festivals was free parties and just putting on, like, just setting up sound systems and having a rave in a forest. So we still keep, like, a lot of the acid techno guys, probably like one of the only places they play, but they come out every year. So we put that in the same area. And it's funny, what's happening is a lot of those guys are now being played by the bigger guys. Like, their productions are being played. The acid has started to creep into techno a lot more recently. People like Amelie Lenz, who we've got this year. And we've also, harking back to those free party days, we've got Spiral Tribe. I don't know if everyone knows them, but basically they were the biggest free party sound system in the early 90s. They left the UK when the criminal justice bill came in. And one of the first gigs they played again was actually at Boomtown. They're now called SB23, they had to change their name. But it's important to kind of nod to the roots of where we come from. That's a really important part of what we do. To open doors for the newer acts, but also to kind of give respect to where we came from. And because people would kick off, and because we love it, big drum and bass stage. Which we always save till the end, and everyone panics thinking that we've stopped doing drum and bass, and then we let it loose, and thankfully, most people like it. Drum and bass is a really tricky one to keep people happy, because everyone's got their own ideas on what it is and what they want, but it has a big stage, and it's fat. Right, last one. It's less of a district. It's called Forest Parties. And it's really tricky. So it's not really a district in one area. It's kind of just all of the bits of woodland that we have. This is the Hidden Woods. It's another reggae stage. We also have the Psytrance in the Woods and another reggae stage, which is more sound system focused and more DJ focused. But it's a beautiful place to hang out. I kind of ended up there quite a lot last year, just because it's a really good space. And yeah, so that is Boomtown. Now do you feel like you've got a better idea? Just stop with nervous giggles. Okay, so I'll tell you what, actually, I was going to save questions till the end, but let's break it up a little bit. Is that all right, Tim? Yeah. Is that cool? Has anyone got any questions so far?
You said about sort of thinking.
Can you just wait for the microphone?
Whoa.
Yeah, cheers, man. Well, basically what I was going to say, I've been to Boomtown myself, like, love the festival, it's fantastic. You were saying about you've got a massive image problem. So essentially, like, I can understand the stereotype is like a lot of people that I know that either don't go to Boomtown or people that do go to Boomtown say, oh yeah, it's just like a shitload of raves, just put on, like, just get really fucked up and just really go and dance. From someone who's been there myself, I did not know there was like a child section, like it was a family section to it. So is that something that, say, increased the more you had to sort of, I guess, make your festival more, I guess you're looking for more people to come, you're putting on more like headline-ish acts, like you were saying, which goes against sort of what you guys feel, what you ideally wanted to do. So would you say that's sort of the thing that comes together? So would you, in terms of making something a bit more marketable?
I don't know even if it's marketable. I think it's just we've grown up and we want more from a festival. And we just want more, different kinds of people as well. Like, it just makes for a nicer space, But people still think of Boomtown as 5-6 years ago, and it's still got that element. Like, I'm not saying it's a clean-cut festival. Like, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's a big rave element, but most of it is downtown. It's split into two, basically. So you've got downtown, which is in a big natural bowl. Then you've got Hilltop, which is, funny enough, on top of a hill. And then actually over the other side as well, you've got Temple Valley, which is where the Lion's Den and one of the new stages is. And most of the rave kind of happens in downtown. And the rest of it is, you know, I'm not saying it's not there, but it's a totally different festival. You can come and have a different experience completely. We had a publisher for a World Music Festival, World Music Magazine come. And he's like, yeah, no, this isn't for us. Like, you know, oh God, I couldn't bring my kids here. And I was like, where did you go? And he never left downtown. So he didn't even make it to the stages where we have one of the biggest world music, like, you know, different, one of the, I hate using the term world music, but kind of you got to sometimes. But yeah, biggest world music lineup. So yeah, I can't remember what the question was. Cool. Wicked.
Quick service, mate. Good day. I was going to say, it seems like there's a big idea of pushing the idea of like creating a world. Would you say that was your biggest influence in kind of getting into Boomtown originally?
What, in terms of me personally?
Just in terms of like creating, for example, separating this festival experience from kind of any other festival people would go to was the influence of like creating a whole actual world that people would come into, separate from like kind of, I guess, everyday life or any other festival. Would you say that was your biggest motivation to kind of joining the Boomtown team, I guess?
Well, I like I say, I joined in the second year. I guess for me, it was nowhere near as far ahead as it is now. Back then, you know, it was kind of an idea. There was maybe I think there was a post office, and you know, it was kind of there, but it was very basic at the start. So that's just something that's grown with the festival. So what pulled me in were. Again, it goes back to the blagging. I don't know how I ended up there. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, actually. But yeah, so no, essentially, is the answer to your question. But I think it's a really important part of the festival. It's some people, for them, it makes it an easier escape. I don't necessarily like to see it as an escapist festival, but if that's what you want from a festival experience, then it's perfect for that. But it's really good to kind of, you know, like I used to enjoy fancy dress at festivals because it takes you out of yourself, you know, and sometimes helps you to become yourself, maybe. But that's what happens, you know. You kind of lose your inhibitions a bit easier when you're immersed within a different world, I guess, yeah. Anybody else? Nope. All right, we'll have some more questions after the next bit. So yeah, going back to how I ended up there. I started off, so I left school at 14, and I spent most of my days in record shops, basically. I couldn't afford to buy anything, so I just spent the whole day listening to everything. And I guess in many ways that's how I started. But I didn't know that I could get a job in the music industry, and it wasn't even in my head. It was something that other people did. I loved music too much to even think about it. And then one day, someone gave me a job in a record shop. I was trying to get a job in like a clothes shop or something, you know, and I was just handing out CVs, which didn't really have a lot on it. And in fact, the CVs were made up, actually. I'd added a couple of qualifications and stuff. But then I went into the record shop and bought some tunes. And just luckily said, I don't suppose you've got any jobs going, have you? And they're like, yeah, totally, come in for an interview. And through sheer kind of luck, I guess, I ended up as manager within about 6 months. And it's great. All of a sudden, I've got like all of this music to choose from. and all day to play it. And from that, I became a DJ, because I was like, one for the shop, one for me, one for the shop, one for me. And because I could put manager's discount on everything as well, my collection just grew massively. And so from there, I became a DJ. And at the time, I mean, the one bad thing about it was the record shop was in Swindon. Sorry if you're from Swindon, just generally, I'm sorry. But I ended up going back to Cardiff to DJ. So again, I didn't plan to. I kept on making mixtapes for my mate. And he, oh, really? Oh. Okay, we'll wrap it up. 5 minutes, cool. All right, we're gonna breeze through it. So yeah, anyway, I ended up as a DJ just because my mate said, look, your girlfriend's in Cardiff, I'm in Cardiff, come and see your mates, and I'll just put you on. Like, I'd never DJed before. They gave me 2 CD Discmans from Argos to play off, and like 2 really bad, possibly belt drive decks. And that's how I learned to DJ. So yeah, that was kind of blagging it. Anyway, from there, I started putting on nights, started putting on hip-hop nights, moved back to Cardiff. The nights got crazier. I got my first gig at Glastonbury. I became a rapper. Again, no idea how that happened. But I did, and managed to blag a gig at Glastonbury on the main, it used to be one dance stage back then. And we got a gig on there. And from that, I was like, I love festivals. This is what I want to do. But I still didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how I was going to get into festivals. I just knew I really liked them. From there, joined the Inflatable Church. Well, I didn't join the Inflatable Church. We took an Inflatable Church to Festival. And started doing fake weddings and stuff like that. And from there, like, we were just getting smashed in the field and doing fake weddings, and met everybody from doing that. So I met the directors of Boomtown from doing that. They came and fitted a sound system for us one year. We nearly got kicked out that year, actually. It was a bit too much. But yeah, from there, that was me back then. And then I went to university, settled down a bit, stopped partying for a little bit, started a blog called Chrome Kids, and from that somehow ended up as a DJ team and got a gig at DJing at Glastonbury. By that point, I'd given up rapping and got a DJ gig at Glastonbury. And again, from there, opened up a whole lot of doors. Went back to Cardiff and ended up, so my mate went, I've got this club, it's not doing very well, do you want to come and program it? I said, yeah, I could do that. So I did that for just over a year until they shut us down. It was a really good club, but it got a bit ravey, so no one was buying drinks. Everyone was going to the cheap pub next door and then coming into us to like rave it out for a few hours. But it was a super fun club. So that was me as mayor. But what happened was I wanted to put on a Boomtown launch party. I'd been to Boomtown the first year because my partner at the time was doing some set design. And I wanted to do a Boomtown launch party, basically. So I phoned up Black, one of the directors, and he said, thing is, the club that you're working for, we fitted the sound system in there and we've never been paid for that. So I'm not really cool with doing a launch party there. I was like, fair enough. And he rang me back about 5 minutes later and said, do you want to host our main stage though? No idea why. I really don't know why. But he did, and so there I was. He said, will you be the town mayor though? No, the town crier, he said at first. But he didn't know the difference between the town crier and a mayor. And he kept on using one or the other. So I'm like, look, if it's a choice, I want to be mayor. So I ended up as mayor for a couple of years. And what happened was people thought that I run the festival then. And so it was a really weird situation. And then I became sheriff. There's not even any time to go into that. And so basically, they shut the club down. I ended up in London for a year. I phoned my mate up. I went, look, we've just lost a job because the pub's been shut down. He went, get to London. I need you to program this festival space in London. So I spent a year there. They shut that down. Wasn't my fault, I swear. And then from there, I thought, right, I can't go back to Cardiff after living in London for a year, too slow. So I moved to Bristol with no idea what I was going to do, and I phoned up Black, said, have you got any jobs going? He went, not really. So eventually he's like, look, just to help you get on your feet, I need the website updating. So he hired me to update the website for a week. After a week, he said, you're going to be here a little while. And just kept on giving me more and more jobs. Then he's like, oh, I've forgotten to program a stage. Can you do that for me? I was like, yeah, of course I can. Then I ended up running the music office at the festival because the lady who was supposed to do it, her father passed away. So all of a sudden I'm like in the middle running the music office at a big festival and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a big learning experience. A lot of like 6 in the morning till 3 in the morning, firefighting about 10 problems at a time. But it was great, it was a learning experience. So after that, went back into the office and they went, really, really busy with running a festival. Do you want to like be in charge of the music? Literally like that. And so here I am, talking to you guys about it. Still no idea how I got there really. But it's really good, it's really fun. Thank you for listening. I tell you what, I'm still doing lots of other stuff as well, still DJing with proper decks these days, which is nice. I should do a little plug just because, you know, what example would I be setting if I didn't? So that's me, AAA Bad Boy. AAA Bad Boy is, for those who don't know, it's an Access All Areas pass. It's what we used to call it. I think we were the only festival that actually printed that on the wristband. And what happens at a festival, especially with dance music, is you can never control all the egos, so you have to put everything in alphabetical order. So we were just joking around about what name you would choose to be at the top of an alphabetical lineup. It's been really fun doing that, actually. I think when I was next to A Tribe Called Quest was like my highlight. I was like, yeah, I'm before A Tribe Called Quest. Nice. So anyway, yeah, that was it. Here we go. Thank you for listening. Any more questions? Have we got time for questions?
Yeah, I've got time.
Yeah? Wicked. Anyone?
Some at the back.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been to Boomtown. I thought it was an incredible experience. I thought it was amazing. And I was thinking, is there any, I'm sure you're inundated with EPKs all the time. Is there anything that kind of a low-tier artist could attach to their EPK that would make it jump out to a programmer like yourself?
So the best thing to do, I would say, if you've got your EPK in a PDF, or
Yeah.
just...
Yeah, man. With kind of like a live gig footage attached to it and stuff.
Yeah. What I prefer, personally, is I never look at EPKs. I'll be honest.
Cool.
All I care about is a little write-up, so I get an idea of what you are. Like 1 sentence will do it. A live video.
Yeah.
I want to see what you look like on stage. And that's pretty much it. I'll be honest with you. And most festival programmers I know, because you haven't got time to go through so much. I get like, I don't know, a few hundred emails a day.
I was thinking
And you just haven't got time to fully go through everything. So real basic, easy to click links. And just, yeah, talk yourself up, but don't like oversell yourself, because that's quite off-putting at times when people kind of oversell themselves. But don't sell yourself short either, you know?
There's a sweet spot. Would you say
Yeah,
the same-
there's a good middle ground there
Would
somewhere.
you say the same thing for the workshops? Like, is that kind of like, because I run workshops,
Okay.
vocal workshops as well, so to apply for that, would that be a similar kind of thing?
The best way, so the best way to apply for workshops is to do it through the application form.
Okay.
I'll be honest, that's not the best way to get a gig. Online, like going through a band application, that's where I look for bands when I've run out of budget. If I'm 100% honest. Oh shit, is this filming? Sorry. But it's true. You know, that's the best way to get is to get someone you know who knows someone at the festival. Like, it's someone done a talk earlier about nepotism in the music industry. festival industry is worse, if not, you know? It is. So yeah, the best thing to do is just find a contact, get them to recommend you, and yeah, or come and hassle me after the thing.
Yeah, will do. Thank you, man.
No worries.
Hey, thank you. That's great. I was just wondering, you know, when you're talking about sort of people kicking off about different genres and different lineups,
Yeah.
Where does that sort of happen? Is that where does that feedback happen, on a forum or social media? Where do you pick up on that stuff?
Mostly on our Facebook page. People are quite vocal about it. There's groups that people have set up, like Boomtown Chat. Happens. A lot of the time, you just see it on your Facebook because someone's added you, and then they're kicking off because there's stuff. But people are very vocal about it.
Do you have that sort of in your mind when you're programming, or?
I always try and make sure that it feels genuine to the festival. So I, even when we had putting a folk lineup, I tried to think which bands would I have booked regardless for another stage, and then kind of like sped out from there. It has to make sense to me within the context of the festival as it is, really. But you're still not going to keep everyone happy. But we don't get it as bad as most other festivals, to be honest with you. Like we get a bit of a backlash, but nothing compared to some other festivals.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you.
Just gonna say, you doing any more like sets around? Because you got the Tropical Tea Party, but like, you got any more sets that you're like playing at?
Yeah, I've kind of I've taken a little bit of a backseat with club DJing, just because like having a full-time job and then late nights, I'm getting on, you know. So to be out raving till early in the morning, as I actually was out till 3 a.m. this morning, and it kind of takes its toll, like physically and mentally. So I don't do as many. I'm really lucky these days, is I kind of get to pick and choose which ones I really like. But I do a lot of festivals still. So I'll be playing at Boomtown. These days I tend to play, most of my set, I play across the board. If it's at Boomtown, then I've got a set for it. But mostly these days, I do a radio show called Super Soca Show, which is just soca music. And so I play a lot of that. It's super fun. Anyone else?
Thank you. Yeah, so it was just really a question about, obviously, as you were saying, you're getting on a bit now, so you've had a lot of years and opportunity to experience lots of different music, but how important would you say it is to invest energy in exploring, investigating and finding new music if you work in music? You know, how important do you think it is to get out of your comfort zone and find out about different types of music?
Super important. Like, I feel that I need, like, it's really hard sometimes because I feel I need to know everything about everything. Even music that we don't have at Boomtown, you know, I listen to and I'm constantly plugged in. I had to teach myself to listen to music and enjoy it again, actually put on an album and listen to it, because I was finding that I was literally only listening to a few seconds of a tune. And that was my musical experience. So yeah, it's really important to invest within that, and it's hard especially when we have a festival with so many different types of music and there's a lot more different types. But as a programmer, I don't know how important it is. As a programmer, for my own kind of, I guess, sense of honesty, it's important. But in terms of picking bands to play, I think it can be a hindrance when you know too much sometimes. Because, you know, I book bands because I really like them, and I can get away with that at Boomtown. Like if someone kind of really like makes me feel excited, then I want to put them on. But then a lot of the time people don't know them, and so they're not the bands that are gonna sell you tickets or get people to come to the stage and see them a lot of the time. So as a programmer, it's sometimes best to have an overview of like who everybody knows, the names that you would like, you know, other people would recognize who aren't into it necessarily. But fuck that. No, I like getting in there. I like delving in and kind of finding the real juicy stuff.
It sounds like, yeah, if you have a mix, then that probably is maybe why Boomtown works so well. I guess, yeah, if you're booking for ticket sales, then yeah, you can follow one particular pathway after a while, can't you? So
yeah, it's an easy trap which we've kind of fallen into a bit. I'll be honest, and it's definitely a trap though. You know, I still get to book bands who no one's heard of, and I want to hold on to that because that's where the passion lies.
Cool, we've got time for one last question. If not, we can have a nice little round. Oh, Josh has a question.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So, from rehearsal room to booking a gig,
Yeah.
how can a band stand out to you, a programmer?
Be really good.
But apart from being really good, yeah, I've seen some really good small bands in local places in Manchester
Yeah.
that never really go anywhere. So, what could they do differently in your eyes?
Just honestly, just get out. Like I watch a lot of venues to see who they're booking, because you know that is the best way to discover new bands. Is like see. So you've got to get out there, and you have to have people talking about you. And like I said earlier, find a route in, find someone who knows someone, any way possible, or just keep hassling. So if you email a festival, by the way, and they don't get back to you, like don't take that as a no. I've got bands who email me every month who haven't put on yet, but I probably will one day because they'll just to get rid of them. Like it's worth just you know hassling. Cool. Thank you.